Hi, welcome to I Want to Like This, the podcast where I sit down with a guest to talk to them about something that they got really excited for and really disappointed by. I ask them why for both of those, and just because I like to end on a constructive note, I want to know what they would have done differently, how they would have made it better. I go into this podcast with what I believe my guests went into their subject with. A very simple idea. I want to like this. This week on the podcast, my guest is Nick Izumi. Nick is a really great friend of mine and fellow comedian. He is the co-host of Otaku Tonight with Professor Fur. He's funny and really intelligent, and he loves mechs. For those who aren't otaku or really aren't into the geek world too much, I don't know why you're listening to this, but whatever, welcome. Mechs are giant robots. Everything from giant robots like Gundam to, well, the subject of tonight, Transformers. Nick unabashedly, unironically loves the 1980s cartoons and the current IDW franchise of comics. So when they launched the chance for a big screen movie, Nick got really excited. And it's not that Nick doesn't even like the movie. It's just, he's still disappointed because it could have been something more. I love the chance to hear Nick talk about giant robots. We've talked about giant robots a lot of times. My disdain for Gundam, aside from the original series, is more than noted to him. So this was a fun conversation between two geeks in a car in a parking lot in Janesville, because while Nick is really, really brilliant, he does not know around his hometown to save his life. It was really quite funny. I hope you enjoy this conversation. I hope you share your opinions. If you have opinions of whether or not you thought Transformers was disappointing, if you think Nick's right and how we could have made it better, if you don't like me constantly bashing on Zack Snyder, which I will do in this podcast and possibly every single one of them. I really hate Zack Snyder. Feel free to leave a comment in the sections below. Feel free to like this, and feel free to subscribe. Enjoy.
Is it ready?
Oh god, I just have the image of Sailor Moon. I know that they tried to pay homage to the original manga. By the way, they designed the character design, but it just doesn't. It's so creepy looking.
It's terrible.
It's so alien and awkward looking. Like, anime already has like big heads and giant eyes.
Mm-hmm.
This is so much worse. It's like porcelain doll level of creepy. You're just like, I don't want to be here.
I don't want to even think about that. Okay,
No.
well, so that's a weird, disturbing thing to start off a talk about a classic Michael Bay movie with.
I'm glad you pulled it around before I did. Nice.
Yeah, this is,
Oh.
I'm really excited to be back on,
I Want to Like
I
This.
Want to Like This, yeah.
Yes!
I'm back. Thank you, TS, for having me today.
It's great. I'm Thomas with Nick Izumi. He was on episode number 2?
I think it was 2.
Episode number 2 of I Want to Like This. Before we even named it I Want to Like This, we covered Godzilla with him and Professor Fur. And it was fun. But I got Nick alone today, which is kind of how I wanted it the first time, but fuck it. No offense to Fur. I love Fur. But I want to talk to Nick, and Nick decided, Nick being the lover of all things giant robot that he is, decided to choose the 2007 classic from Michael Bay,
Transformers. What a great movie. No,
Okay, let's give a little history. I said you're a giant robot fan. I used mech because that's the term we're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little why of yourself, your fandom, and why you got so excited to see Transformers.
So I've loved robots for as far back as I can remember.
And why wouldn't you?
And the Transformers especially. Actually, the first birthday present I vividly remember getting was, I got Optimus Prime from my parents. It was the Generation 2 reissue of the original 80s toy.
I got Grimlock.
I'm
That
jealous.
first one I can remember.
I'm really jealous of that.
I got a Grimlock, and who's the transforming helicopter? Oh.
Was it Whirl?
Yes!
I love
Pink.
Whirl.
Yeah.
Whirl's crazy.
I actually got that gift from the aviation guys at Fort Lewis, Washington when I was 3.
Nice.
Yeah, right?
No, my Optimus, I'm actually proud of. He's still in good condition. Like, I actually still have him, and most of his parts are there, because that's the kind of dorky kid I was. Like, I was really protective of my toys, so that a toy that is now 21 years old is still in perfectly workable condition.
I wish I was that good. I wish I just still had my original Saba the Talking Saber from
man.
fucking Mighty Morphin Power
Nice.
Rangers.
So yeah, Transformers has been this part of my life. I love the cartoon. I love the comics. I really, really love the IDW comics that are coming out right now. And there's a couple of select, even recent cartoons that have been really good. Shout out to Animated and Prime, which were both fantastic shows.
Can I give a little bit of credit? Like, Transformers starts from just someone trying to sell toys. Like, they had this really cool idea for a toy. It's like, it's a truck, and it turns into a robot, and it fights this gun that turns into a robot. And it's really rad. Like, they're cool enough toys of themselves. Then they made a cartoon, and the first cartoon is not,
Good?
It's not great. It's not. But for some reason, we saw these at such an impressionable age. It's like the He-Man thing. He-Man is terrible. But you see it at such an impressionable age that you just build this,
And I'll argue one of the things Transformers had over the other toy cartoons from the 80s was that there actually were characters.
There were.
Like, Starscream had a personality.
He did.
You will never forget Starscream. You'll never forget his interactions with Megatron.
Whereas He-Man just seems like a bunch of Hanna-Barbera throwaways.
Yeah. It's not like He-Man. There are actual character arcs. There are even some legitimately well-written... I mean...
I just wanted to comment on how something that was made of just crass consumerism got so much sentimentality built behind it that there's just these fandoms. Like, we wouldn't get
weird,
IDW... Like, we wouldn't get IDW if it wasn't for some kid who loved playing with his Transformers and built up the sympathy for him that he just made this story. Like, IDW's Transformers run is these really great in-depth stories from the most frivolous foundations ever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, it was crass just straight up trying to sell a toy. I mean, even before... The only reason the cartoon existed was the original Japanese toy was just a toy on its own, and they couldn't get it to sell, and Hasbro was like, what if there was a story? And yeah.
And they put them on the back of the boxes at first as little comic panels.
Yeah, you just got little backstories. I think someone at Marvel wrote.
They were beautifully drawn too.
Oh yeah, there's
the original
box
back
art.
cards. Oh,
the box art and the story, the little personality blurbs and the stats. They still do the stats on the toys.
I love that. They stopped doing that on most of the toys. Like, I remember, like, all the G.I. Joes had that. I remember when, like, all the Batman figures had that.
Actually, I take that back. As of right now, the Combiner Wars figures don't have stats. I was heartbroken. I got their G1 Megatron figure, and I was heartbroken. No stats. But
No, this totally goes into, we are just diehard nerd fans of this giant robot cartoon. And the action figure line.
And yeah, and it had there is a lot of heart. There's a lot of character. I hate using that phrase because it's so trite. It had a lot of heart. But there really are a lot of real characters.
It had a lot of Allspark.
It had a lot of Allspark, yeah.
It had a lot of spark in it.
And nowadays, we get all these adaptations of things that, seemed like the most frivolous, like, pulpy things when they started, but then you get new classics from it. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, the first couple of those
first two are... The second
fantastic.
Spider-Man movie is the best Spider-Man movie there's ever been made.
Yeah, I mean, even going back further, like, even in the 70s, the original Superman movie was meant to be this real epic.
79 Superman is my favorite. We've had this discussion.
But yeah, it's like meant to be this epic, like, piece that's an homage to a real American icon. So what do we get when they try to turn Transformers into a movie? Is it an epic American icon new classic?
It's Michael Bay film.
Damn it!
Okay, so I obviously know why you were excited, because you're just a fan. So you know what the next step is. Yeah. What about this film did you like? Because we talked about it. This film is not unenjoyable.
It's actually one of the things I want to say
like
going into this.
It's like a fun ride. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a movie. I wanted to talk about this movie because this encapsulates I want to like this very well. Someday I'm going to come on the show and talk about a movie I hated because we haven't done that yet. But this is another one, much like Godzilla 2014, that I enjoyed the hell out of it. But it's like an inch away from being great. And I want it to be great. And little tweaks to it could make it a great movie.
But, okay, before we get to the tweaks, what about this? Like, okay.
Okay.
I like how they do the characterization. They got the characters.
Oh yeah. The
robot characters.
What little bit you get with the robots, they got right. Unlike the sequels, which I'm sure you'll go into later with some other folks, Optimus Prime is still the Optimus Prime that I remember. Not just because he has the right voice, but he has that
optimism?
That optimism, that heroic personality. He's not randomly murdering everything in his path like he's destined to do in the sequels.
Oh, when he gets the flaming sword, he's just cutting people in half.
I didn't even see the fourth one.
It's so bad.
But yeah, like in this you have that character. You get your little bits of the Decepticons. While they're very alien, they're still very threatening. Just in general, the vehicles they picked for the robots and the actual robot designs. I don't agree with a lot of critics of this movie that say they just look like piles of junk. I like that the Autobots are brightly colored.
My argument is that they're not colored enough.
Okay, yeah.
They just look like, a lot of times in the fight scenes, it just looks like jagged metal slashing against jagged metal.
That's a big problem with the Decepticons. The Decepticon designs are piss poor. Like, they're really bad.
Yes.
As one internet user put it, I loved when you look at the ways that people have designed Starscream in the past. And, he's usually this elegant, streamlined jet. Even for Prime, the character designer straight up said they drew a King Cobra and then they drew Starscream around it. You hear all these creative ideas, and what do you get for Starscream in this movie? He's like a Dorito made of metal.
It is
like,
quite awkward looking.
A jagged... Yeah, but I mean, aside from that, you still get some pretty decent characters, and I'm going to say another kind of controversial thing. I actually think Shia LaBeouf's pretty funny in this.
I think Shia LaBeouf is really good in this.
I think he's really funny in this movie.
I even made note of it. Shia LaBeouf really does play the kid who's just trying to make it through high school with a crush to who will become a hero. Like, he does the whole hero's journey step up really well.
He's really funny. He's a good actor in this.
Not all of the humor in this movie feels horribly forced. Like, there's a lot of moments in it where they are actually funny. Yeah, I don't need a chihuahua pissing on...
the chihuahua pissing, the masturbation joke. I could do without that, but a lot of the other humor in the movie...
pretty spot on.
Okay, the non bodily function and non-racist humor was all pretty good.
I actually have a note very much like that.
I really think this was a funny movie. I think the overall plot isn't bad either.
I think the overall plot actually harkens back to like the original plot of Transformers. If you change the Allspark to the Ark, and you change Megatron to Optimus, that's the original basis of Transformers, because Optimus crashes the Ark into Earth, prehistoric Earth, and they wake up in 1984.
It's a kind of similar thing. You got Megatron was looking for this power source, crashed into Earth. They've been reverse engineering him. I like the Cybertronian relic thing.
Yeah.
Because it gives the idea that these aliens are ancient and they have this culture and they have these things that matter to them. And the Allspark itself is kind of a really cool idea that I want to go more into with things where it fell short, because that was
it's a really cool idea. Its destruction is like a perfect example of why they can't go back home, because they can't bring life to the planet. Like there's no point in going back home without the Allspark, which I thought was really cool. I even like the thing about I like the use of Sam Witwicky, because it shows a flaw in humanity that Optimus himself doesn't have. Like, we touched on that optimism, because Optimus is ready to just throw the Allspark into himself and die for the cause. He doesn't even think to kill Megatron. He's ready to kill himself to save the world.
One of Optimus's defining character traits is that he is suicidally heroic.
It's so awful.
He is so set for self-sacrifice that it's his automatic setting. He doesn't even think about the alternate option.
He doesn't think, I could jam this into my enemy's heart and kill my enemy. No, I'll just jam it in mine and kill myself. At least no one will get hurt then.
Yeah, it's a little awkward.
But it's a little awkward, but it's so on point with who Optimus is in all the media beforehand. So it was like, this really touched down on Optimus really well. The glasses thing with Megatron, etching it into the glasses, that's kind of cool.
It's cheesy, but it works.
It gives you a perfect reason to follow Sam Witwicky around.
I even liked what little we get of Megatron. He's a fantastic villain. I mean, he's threatening. He's scary. He's an actual threat to our heroes. We see him kill one of our heroes.
Yeah, and he's quite he is quite imposing in the way they designed him. I mean, he's jagged. He's the only one I'm fine with being just jagged metal the way he is, because he looks like Super Shredder.
And he's supposed to be like this ancient super robot. Yeah, and they got that to come across really well.
He never had to disguise himself.
I'm sad that they went with Hugo Weaving instead of just getting Frank Welker back, especially when they got Peter Cullen to do Optimus Prime.
I will agree with that. It would have been nice to have the original voice. I think they really struggled to keep Optimus Prime in, because they were like, fans will really shit on if they don't have Optimus Prime. I'm pretty sure the studio didn't want to hire the voice actor who did, because when they hire Hugo Weaving, they're like, he's been a villain in these other movies, and he's a big name.
Right.
And I think they'd probably want a bigger name, and they're like, we got to cater to the fans some.
I'm glad that they did, though. I know a lot of pre-production was catering to the fans. Like, the early designs for Optimus were not recognizably Optimus. And even in his hyper douchebaggy commentary, which I've watched, I own the special edition of the DVD, Michael Bay talks about how all the head nerds, and that's how he phrases it too, how all the head nerds kept telling him he had to make Optimus Prime look different, look more like the cartoon character, and I think it worked out for the better.
It worked out for the better. The only thing I don't like is that he's still got the douchebag flames on Optimus, and I'm like, Optimus Prime would never have flames on him.
Actually, there's some precedent for the flames. There was a 1990s toy, Laser Optimus Prime, one of the coolest Optimus Prime figures ever, and they did flame effects on it. I've got that figure.
I remember that.
The actual engineering of that toy is A+.
The engineering of that toy is awesome. Every time I see flames on a vehicle, I just want it to get wrecked by something else. Like, I want to watch it get hit by a metro train.
But it adds 10 horsepower.
No, it doesn't. Jerry, this is why you're not supposed to chime in most of the time.
Yeah,
adds 10 horsepower.
The flames make it move. I do like Optimus's robot design, though. I think it looks it harkens back to the original.
It does. It
looks very, very classic, but at the same time very modern.
Yeah, it looks like what their robots look like, and it still looks like Optimus. I would argue for a little bit more red and blue.
Yeah.
And I like the primary color Optimus. I like my heroes in primary colors. I really do.
I agree with that. Man of Steel. Yeah, but...
like, the point of the story is really good. I don't hate all the character designs. They're a little too jaggedy metal. The humor's not terrible. You like the humor.
Yeah, I think... Shia LaBeouf's an excellent lead.
He really was in this film.
In the other movies, I can't say that, but in this movie... this movie, he was excellent.
I even in the role, I don't like the roles that they're playing, but the casting on this, aside from one person who I know we're going to talk about when we go to the bad, the casting in this is really cool. Like, Tyrese Gibson is in this, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, man, Tyrese is in this, cool. And like all the performances,
John
really
Voight.
Good.
How the hell did they get John Voight to do this movie?
I have a horrible joke that I'm not going to say because it's really sexist.
Okay.
But it's Michael Bay who's really sexist. Which we'll talk about in a second, because now we're going to go, what's the bad?
Okay, well, unfortunately, Michael Bay's usual racism and sexism definitely comes into play.
Just in casting Megan Fox alone. Holy crap. That girl, I once heard a comedian explain it this way. Megan Fox is the girl that a guy says is his #1 celebrity crush when they're closeted. Because Megan Fox is such an obvious, stereotypical, beautiful girl that the only reason you would ever say Megan Fox is the hottest girl in the world is if you're secretly trying to pretend to be straight.
I don't think she's that good an actress.
She is a terrible actress. I will throw it out. She's awful.
Like, you see, this and the second one are the only movies I've ever seen her in. So I don't want to... I'm hesitant to judge her.
Watch the movie Jennifer's Body.
Oh God,
it is both awful and hilarious.
But she is not good. Her character doesn't work.
Her character is such a stereotype for girls from the broken home.
Oh yeah,
and she jumps from one boyfriend to the next, and it's just like, haven't we seen this one where he steals a girl from a jock countless times? Like, isn't that Flash Thompson's gimmick in Flash Thompson and Felicia Hardy, or Flash Johnson and Gwen Stacy, or Flash Thompson and any girl he dates that's eventually going to go fall for Peter? Like,
right.
I'm so tired of women being used in the light of, oh, I dated a douchebag, but I'm going to go with the cool guy that everybody likes after this.
The thing is, like, Sam doesn't even... She just kind of sticks with him for no really good reason. They don't even really establish that very well.
She likes his car. That's what gets her. She likes his car. And I was like, oh my God, this is Michael Bay's dream now that he's rich, is that he can buy a car and get a woman. Like, or in his saying, buy a movie franchise and cast a girl that he's going to sexually harass who's going to quit because of it, only to come back to his movies because no one else wants to hire her.
Burn.
Sorry, Megan, no one wants to hire you, but Michael Bay does, and only because he finds you attractive in that overcompensating way I explained earlier.
Oh, poor Stephen Amell. Anyway, that's a TMNT joke and an Arrow joke. Anyway, good God.
Oh God, he's got to play Casey Jones opposite of her as Arrow.
Yeah, he does. But we get the black hacker is a really racist caricature too.
Like, it is, because he's somehow stereotypically it feels like he took his anger out on the nerds who made him redesign Optimus and black culture at the same time. Like, it's a twofer. He got his own twofer. He's like, I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone. Like,
and then he's hanging out with the just ridiculously hot scientist chick, because we always need that in a movie.
Yeah, okay. A girl who's brilliant in science is already attractive. She doesn't need to be a model, because I like smart women. But, like, they do that a lot. They're like, this is needlessly attractive girl playing the model. Not saying that a girl who is so ridiculously attractive can't be a scientist. I know a female in professional wrestling who is a microbiologist, and she's gorgeous and funny. So she's like the win-win. So it's not unprecedented in science.
Right.
But it just feels like, we don't have enough beautiful girls in here. Let's throw a blonde. Like, it was just like, they could have cast that so many different ways.
Yeah, but of course they didn't.
No.
It's Michael Bay. And of course, and speaking of people getting fed up with the way that they're treated and sexually harassed, guess why she didn't do the next movie?
Oh, it's Michael Bay!
Yeah.
What a dirty douchebag.
And we mentioned before, there's a lot of bodily fluids humor that's just out of place.
Yeah, but it's not out of place in a Michael Bay movie.
Okay,
it's just out of place in a
Transformers movie. Like, I mean, having John Turturro get pissed on by Bumblebee. Having Sam's mom and the masturbation joke. Sam's parents. I've never seen such terrible movie parents. And they get worse with each progressive movie. But in this one...
It's like he watched American Pie and went, oh, that family dynamic can work. How can I make that more crass? Like, the family dynamic in American Pie is really sweet at its heart. And this one just seems like a pale imitation. Like, oh, I know what's funny. No, you don't.
Pretty much.
I think the main thing that's wrong with this film is Michael Bay.
That really sums up everything. It's so unfocused. It's so... Because that's the one other thing that Bay's focus is on the wrong thing. Is that, again, I think Shia LaBeouf's great.
He is.
He's fantastic in this movie. But we spend tons of time on him before the titular Transformers actually show up.
And I think it has that struggle that you have with movies with aliens, that the hero has to be the human.
Right. Like,
at the end of the day, it's Shia LaBeouf shoving the Allspark in Megatron and not Optimus.
Right.
Which is just like, it's got to be the human that saves the day. Why don't you just humanize the aliens more? Like, we could spend time with them. Optimus Prime is easily a sympathetic character.
Well, I mean, and there are movies that have done that really well. Hellboy. Both of the Hellboy movies, you have you had the human Cypher character.
Yeah.
But... they're not the hero in any way, shape, or form.
They're there to tell the story.
It's entirely about humanizing Hellboy.
Exactly.
And he's literally from hell. and I still relate to him.
Well, that's the problem. That's what I think the mistake here in this movie is. Like, Sam Witwicky's a cool protagonist. We can totally follow him on this journey. But we did that in the 80s Transformers cartoons. There are always kids. There's always human kids around these Transformers.
Oh, yeah, Beast Wars was the only cartoon that didn't do that.
Exactly. And it's always, we're seeing the Transformers with these kids' point of view. Like, they're your avatar into being in awe of these robots who are somehow really human, and they totally missed the boat on them.
But yeah, you had those human characters, but it was still always about
the Transformers.
The Transformers themselves, who have a lot of character. And if they would have spent more time, developing them, making them more human, and even going back to the design, something that I think you'd agree on, making their faces more expressive and giving the robots these more expressive and dynamic and like really relatable faces, you could get more from them. And it's sad because clearly they know how to do that, because you care about Bumblebee when you're watching the movie.
Yes.
He has a very expressive face.
Even Optimus has an expressive face. Optimus has a mouth.
Yeah, Optimus and Bumblebee, both very expressive characters. And in Bumblebee's case, he looks very alien, but you still empathize with him. Spend more time with those guys. It's fine to have Shia there. He's a very good actor.
And he would be a great bridge. You can have him be in awe of the fucking Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still tell a lot of that story, but they didn't. They just focused on the wrong part. And I thought they would get better at than the second one. But in the second one, they just get really stereotypical with everything.
Well, in the second one, it was like it was great, because Michael Bay, when he makes a promise, it's like Satan making a promise. You know, it's like he'll do the thing he says he's going to do, but it's going to be a really fucked up version of it. So you get, he's like, oh yeah, there's going to be more robot time in this, but the movie is also like an hour longer. So there's like, in theory, more time is spent on robots than there was in the first one, but proportionally, it's still the same amount of human to robot ratio. It's just...
Now Sam's in college. I don't care.
I really, yeah, exactly. I don't care.
I do want to say this. The one thing positive is the performances by the robots are somehow more organic than Megan Fox.
Yeah. It's true. It's tragic and terrible, and it's true.
Digitally animated characters show more emotion than some actors.
Like, I felt...
The whole Kristen Stewart thing all over again.
It's why we made Toy Story.
There were...
Tim Allen can't show as much emotion facially as Buzz Lightyear, but he can do it in his voice.
I will say, with some of the humor, this is one of my big things, is I work at... Here I am cursing up a storm, and I'm going to complain about this, but I am. I worked at a summer camp for years.
Yeah.
I really care about what kids see and what they take in.
Yes, totally agree.
I didn't like that there was so much humor that was aggressively not
for kids,
acceptable for kids. Like, Transformers is a children's franchise. I'm a 26-year-old man who still collects Transformers toys, and I know a lot of people older than me that do that, but
my 30-year-old Mexican friend who's going to do episode number 2 of this one.
But it's still a kid's franchise. It should still be a kid's franchise.
I totally agree. And the worst part about it is there's so many in Pixar movies and child's cartoons where they do slip the joke in, but they slip it in.
Yeah, they slip it in. It's subtle.
And if you're a kid, you don't notice it. But a kid's going to know, like, oh, okay, I get it.
When
it's okay to be crass.
When you straight up have the character saying, masturbate, like, as opposed to, any of the Pixar movies or any of the Steven Spielberg cartoons from the 90s, where they would do really dirty stuff, and I didn't even pick up on it. And then I watch it now, and it's like,
Tiny Toon Adventures made a lot of leaps that you weren't ready to make at 7.
But then when you go back and watch it as an adult, you get it, and it's really funny.
It's great.
They weren't smart like that with this movie.
No, they were crass.
And I hate that.
Yeah, you should. It was terrible.
But, I mean, it goes back to Michael Bay. That's
his sense of humor.
I hate it.
He's one of those filmmakers that people keep giving big-budget movies to, and I don't get it.
My big thing about Michael Bay, though, and this is a rant that I've had a couple times. I've never had it recorded, but I'm going to say it.
Go for it.
If people are going to say they hate Michael Bay, they hate his movies, they hate everything about him, do me a big favor. Stop seeing them.
Thank you.
Stop seeing Michael Bay movies.
This is exactly how I feel about Zack Snyder. This
Same.
is exactly how I feel about James Cameron.
Like here's the thing. I like this movie. I didn't think the second Transformers movie was very good. The third Transformers movie, worst movie I've seen in my entire life. So you know what I did when that fourth one came?
Wait, have you seen Dragon Ball Evolution? We did a podcast.
Yeah, there's a video.
Horrific.
There's a video that hopefully will be out soon where myself and J.L. Westover from the writer of Mr. Lovenstein go quite in depth into that. I will take Dragon Ball Evolution over Transformers 3 any day, because you know what? Dragon Ball Evolution is over in an hour and 30 minutes.
You just terrified me. I'm gonna have to do Transformers 3 for the podcast, so that means I have to watch it.
Yeah, well, guess what?
I've never watched Transformers 3.
It's like a 3-hour movie, and it hurts. If you've ever wanted to have a scene where Optimus Prime lets half of Chicago die, and then comes in and says, "That's what they get for thinking they don't need us."
Whoa!
Yeah, that's the actual.
God.
That's in the movie.
Oh.
So after seeing.
Wait, that's a quote?
It's not
an exact
It's not an
paraphrasing.
exact quote, but that's the.
It's not what he said, but it's like that's what he meant.
That's what he meant.
Oh, that's
yeah.
terrible.
So when the fourth one came out, you know what I did? I didn't see it.
No.
I still didn't see it.
Marky Mark's not going to save that piece.
And for that matter, the third one, the only reason I saw it was because I had a free video rental and someone wanted to record my reactions to it.
Oh.
I have not paid to see I don't pay to see movies that I hate. And guys, if you really, everyone on the internet who just, every time Michael Bay does a new Transformers movie is like, let's make fun of how bad the Transformers movie is. Do me a favor. Don't see it. Stop making this the #1 movie in America.
I will agree with this.
Last year, the only thing that stopped that from being the top grossing movie of last year was frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy. It took a tree and a raccoon to stop that from happening. It shouldn't take a tree and a raccoon. It should take you being good people and not seeing Michael Bay movies.
Or Zack Snyder films. Batman vs. Superman is going to be terrible and sexist.
But Ben Affleck.
Aren't you excited?
Ben Affleck's going to be a great Batman in the shittiest movie with Batman ever. And that includes Dark Knight Rises.
Aren't you excited that Wonder Woman's first big screen appearance is going to be directed by a sexist dickhead?
Yeah, the guy who made fucking Sucker Punch.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
It's gonna look really beautiful, though.
Oh,
the story's gonna be awful.
It's gonna look pretty and desaturated, but whatever. It's gonna be terrible.
At least Neil deGrasse Tyson's in it.
No,
Is
he's
he?
not.
Yeah, he's in the trailer.
Oh.
He's one of the voices in the trailer, man.
Oh, I'm losing respect for my heroes in this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, God, at
boy.
least there's a Star Wars that looks good.
Fingers crossed on that. I'm looking forward to the Star Wars.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
So,
well, you know what we come to the point of now.
how can we make this better?
How would we make this movie better?
Okay, well, obviously we hire a different director.
Yes. We kill Michael Bay. Wait. I'm going to go with it.
There are some really magical alternate directors who I think would be really good for this project. Honestly, Joe Johnston would be one of my first choices.
I could see that.
Joe Johnston, for those who don't know him, he normally does period movies that make you feel really good. So he did like October Sky, The Rocketeer, and my favorite Marvel movie, Captain America, the First Avenger.
I love The Rocketeer, by the way. Just made my friends watch it for the first time, and it's fantastic.
It's a great movie.
Oh, her. I was to say, I watched that a lot.
Can you?
Seen it before.
You know you hadn't.
Can you imagine though, like someone who really understands that nostalgic joy approaching a movie like this? You could turn that into an instant classic, actual
totally
classic.
agree. I completely agree. I would actually put any of the Marvel directors in charge of this.
Yeah, they could really make it work.
Like the brothers that handled the Winter Soldier.
The Russo brothers.
The Russo brothers.
Fantastic.
They definitely know how to manage giant set pieces.
Which you'd need a lot of.
Yes, you would.
I think that would be my first change. Get a better director, someone who actually loves these kind of stories. Not someone who, Michael Bay himself says, and has said several times he didn't want this project because he didn't want to make a toy movie. He did not respect this property right from the get-go, and it was a major mistake. It was a mistake on Spielberg's part for hiring him.
I'll never understand how people do this. They hire people that don't love the product. Like, they know they're aiming for a group of people that have a fan favor, they love these things, and they just hire people who don't care. They did it with Nolan and Batman. Mm-hmm. Batman Begins
even more
fine.
so with David S. Goyer.
Yeah. Zack Snyder's I'm never going to stop bitching about Zack Snyder.
I agree with Nolan and Batman. I really like Batman Begins, but
Batman Begins is great. Everything after that is not a good depiction of Batman.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. But
we're going to get so many hate comments if people actually listen this far into the podcast for that.
But speaking of which, getting people who care, not just the director, I would get a better writer. There are a lot of... Here's the thing. A lot of the people who grew up with the somewhat crummy cartoon that was 80s Transformers have grown up to be really, really good Transformers writers. Look at the IDW comics.
Series. It's fantastic.
Especially Simon Furman, who was famous for his runs in his Transformers books from the 80s, but his IDW books were great.
Can I argue this point? I don't understand why Hollywood doesn't hire comic book writers to write comic book and property-related movies.
I have no idea. Marjorie Scott, she actually writes both Transformers comics and she's done screenplays. She's written episodes of Prime, and she's one of the showrunners on the current Robots in Disguise cartoon.
There's so many people who are, like, they could do this with Batman, too. You get Bruce Timm in there?
Oh, God. You'd have a great...
Paul Dini? I'll watch a movie written by Paul Dini.
Oh, yeah, Paul Dini could handle... Actually, Paul Dini got his start writing cartoons in the 80s Transformers cartoon.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've got good... There are good people associated with this who could easily make a classic out of this. Better writer, better director. First thing through the door.
And make sure they love the property.
Get a different leading lady, maybe. Not maybe. Get someone better.
Get a different leading lady, or make it so it's not the cliche stuff where, we have a guy, we have to have a girl.
You could nix that subplot entirely.
Totally. We don't need that. There's more important shit at stake than whether or not Sam Witwicky gets his wit wet.
And for that matter, like, if you're going to say, well, then what are you going to do for girl characters? Frankly, there are a lot of really cool female Transformers.
Yeah.
RC! Put RC in the movie.
Totally.
Here's the thing. RC...
Also, there's a bunch of military personnel in there,
mm-hmm.
and I've learned in my course where I was actually in the Army, there are plenty of strong women in the Army. I have one of my best friends from the Army. His sister is in the Air Force right now, stationed in Iceland. The girl's tough as nails.
Yeah,
like,
damn
put
straight.
a female leading lady in a military uniform. There's no problem with that. They just made all these traditionally male roles.
Yeah, damn straight. No, you could really easily do that.
I will say this about the bad writing for the parents. They did the thing where the mother is such a small role compared to the dad.
Oh, of course.
And such a much weakerly written role than the dad. And the parents were just shit writing for them anyway. But the mom is just this, just nagging thing. And it's just like, I don't understand why we write women like this.
And getting over sexism has been something that the Transformers franchise has been only recently getting to. Like, just it was a little over a year ago, the aforementioned Marjorie Scott wrote a book called Windblade, which was about a female Transformer, and there were people just, like,
losing their mind,
losing their shit over this idea. It was written by a woman. It was illustrated by a woman. And by the way, it was one of the best books IDW ever put out. Fantastic read. If you get a chance, look at Transformers Windblade. Yes, I'm going to be the first to admit the Transformers fandom has a huge problem with sexism.
Nerd fandom in total has a huge problem with sexism. They think Gal Gadot makes a fine Wonder Woman, and they're wrong. I need a girl who looks like she can stand next to the current Superman and actually punch him in the face.
Look
and knock
like
him on
Henry
his ass.
Cavill and be just as muscular.
Well, it doesn't have to be just as muscular, but at least look like you're not a fourth of the man.
Right. No, I see where you're coming from. No, we have this problem in nerddom, and getting some better women parts in this movie, that'd be great.
Or even, like we said, a writer who's female who could actually had a different dynamic and sensibility and actually care about the characters.
Even get Sue Blue, who played the original RC, she's the casting director on all the Transformers cartoons these days. Like, get her in there to cast the robots.
Yeah.
Because she knows what she's doing. She knows these. She is the Andrea Romano of Transformers. She knows who these characters are. She knows what they're supposed to be. Let her handle the voice acting bits.
Completely. So, okay, we'd get a different casting director.
Yeah.
We'd get a different director, different writers. What actually in the story do you think could have made this better?
I think introduce the Autobots much sooner. Get Sam invested in what they're doing much earlier in the story, and through Sam, make the audience start caring about these characters right from the get-go. Not just Bumblebee, but Optimus, and maybe even play up more what was Cybertron, what did it mean to them, and then you get a story arc for Optimus. Is Optimus failed?
Yeah, there's a feeling of loss.
That is something that you establish right from the get-go. Cybertron's dead. It's not coming back. Optimus failed.
Well, it can come back. There's one chance it's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the Allspark that much more important. And it makes Optimus's willingness to sacrifice the Allspark to save Earth that much bigger. Because he's straight up sacrificing his home.
He feels like he's failed. He's getting a second chance. And so you have that Allspark that is his only hope. That is redemption in mechanical form. And in the final act, I'm still good with having the Allspark be destroyed.
Yeah.
Because that is a soul-crushing moment. But then you also have something bigger, is Optimus, at the beginning of the movie, failed. And his character arc, you would expect it to be that this time he's not going to fail. But by having the Allspark be destroyed, in a way he failed again.
Yeah.
But by finding Earth, now he has something else to live for, and he gets to move on. That's almost a better lesson.
He has to have acceptance. In destroying the Allspark, it's acceptance of the loss.
And it's a better lesson, because he failed, and he might fail again, but he still has something to live for. There's a lot to that character. Hellboy Optimus.
Yeah.
Make him that alien thing that you're not familiar with, and you still care about him, you're cheering for him, you want him to win.
And you know he cares about a world that just is never going to care about him like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea.
Definitely keep the Sector 7 thing, like the government organization.
Yeah. I love the idea of like the reverse engineering Megatron into making current technology. I always love any alien arc where it's like, oh yeah, the only reason we have this, it's not because humanity's smart, because we're a bunch of dumb primitive apes smashing rocks at each other. It's because we found something that was so much better than us, and we're like, oh no, we're smart enough to figure this out, though. We can solve a problem. We can solve a puzzle.
And yeah, like you have this force that should make Optimus completely distrust humans, and then that's also where Sam comes into play, and you get a dynamic between them. When he sees the relationship that Sam forms with Bumblebee, and that he himself is forming with Sam, it's that realization there are good sentient beings on this planet who deserve
what I do like
respect.
About this movie, and what I think would still work, and that is like Optimus Prime clearly sees the reflection of the Cybertronians in humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a moment where they call that, why would we save these primitive apes? All they do is fight and kill each other. And he's like, were we any different? And in my head, I'm like, you're still not any different. You are on this planet killing each other.
Well, that actually plays up to another point that I would change. I would make the Decepticons much more human.
Yes.
I would, because when he says, does that make us any different? Well, the Decepticons all look like freaking monsters.
Yes, they
do. The Autobots are like relatable and humanish, but the Decepticons are all super monstrous. Play up more that Civil War angle. Like, these guys who they're fighting are exactly the same.
Yeah. They just have a different allegiance. They are, in fact, just Cybertronian.
Mm-hmm.
And they made them so different they look like different species of jagged metal.
Which is, like, make that more of a play up the whole thing of, these guys are just like us. You could even argue there's just as much of a chance for redemption in them, but they chose to be bad people.
And you could totally play that up with Optimus ready to sacrifice himself to destroy the Allspark because he won't kill Megatron because he thinks Megatron can be redeemed.
And on top of that, you also have, if you humanize them earlier, have a fight with the other Decepticons, not just the police car. Have one early. introduce Starscream as a character early on and his lust for leadership, because you have a fight between him and Optimus wins, beats Starscream's ass, but have it be a more or less even fight.
Yeah.
So that way when Megatron shows up, and he's much tougher than Starscream, when he kicks the...
Optimus is, screwed. He's out of his element.
Yeah, have the first thing Megatron do is beat the tar out of Starscream, who you've seen Optimus fight earlier, and then have it be like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Oh crap. Megatron just, without even thinking, beat the guy who Optimus broke a sweat over. What's going to happen now?
And also, you can make a completely logical reason for him to lose, because Starscream does turncoat on Megatron multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of reason to have a scapegoat where Optimus wins, because Starscream saves the day.
In his own stupid sort of way.
Well, yeah, because Megatron, because Optimus is going to put the Allspark in himself. Starscream is the perfect person to put the Allspark into Megatron's spark.
Mm-hmm. Sure, that plays down Shia's role, but how great would that be? Even have a nice post-credit stinger of a Megatron barely functional, and in classic Starscream form, have Starscream just to be there to be oh Megatron, it looks like you're having trouble sleeping. Let me help you rest, my fearless leader.
There's so many things you could do that would be so true to the characters with that. Oh god, I like that. And especially entering them so much earlier, because there's 40 minutes into that movie before we get a Transformer.
Yeah, we get the helicopter at the beginning, blackout, and then after that you get nothing for a really long time. Yeah, have it earlier on. Just have them part of the story right from the get-go. You're learning who they are. Sam's learning who they are. You get that dynamic between them, and then you just tell this really epic story, and then you have Sam and you have the Army guys too, who are your characters who you're seeing things from their perspective, and you're in awe with them. The Army guys serve an important point in this one. It's not like Godzilla, where I was talking about how...
Where they're just a touchstone to try and capitalize on American patriotism.
Mm-hmm. Instead, have the Army guys, from their perspective, they should also be they have been in a position of power for a very long time, so to have these other warriors enter the fray...
And invaders.
Invaders, and they feel so small compared to them. That is thematic stuff you can do there.
Yeah, it's a subverting of power, and it would be a great story plot for the U.S. military to actually be how do we do this? They're obviously invaders. How do we fight this?
Mm-hmm. And again, have an opportunity to actually have Optimus bond with them too, because they're fellow warriors.
Yeah.
He would have common ground with them.
He would.
Maybe he also has robot PTSD. They have... It's a real thing.
No, you do not have to argue that PTSD is a real thing with me.
But I'm saying, the idea of, since
Optimus
he's a
Prime,
sentient being, it's implied they've been at war for hundreds of years.
Hundreds of thousands of years.
How screwed up do you think Optimus must be after having to kill his countrymen, after watching the young people who he has tried to lead die over and over again? He's got to be hurting something fierce.
Oh yeah, it's just like the American Civil War. Anytime it's one world and you're fighting your own brethren, there's a level of stress that has to come with that. That's got to be insurmountable, especially for someone like Optimus, Optimus is a bleeding heart, and that's what makes him a great hero.
He's a big robot Captain America.
He is, and that's why I love him.
But yeah, I think this is a movie. It is a very entertaining movie. It could have been great, and they just need to humanize the right characters. But yeah, it's a shame. It's still worth seeing, but
I would definitely say it is worth seeing. This would be the one to watch.
Don't watch the other.
I have to for this podcast.
Okay, well, you might have to, but the other people listening. Don't give Michael Bay money, please.
Please.
I mean, if you really, I think one of them might be on Netflix. If you need to watch it there.
If we're ever going to argue for the Screen Actors and Screenwriters Guilds, stop spending money on horribly directed, horribly written pieces of crap, and start actually spending your money on good things. I think that's the note we can actually leave these people with.
That seems pretty good.
Nick, where can people find you?
I can be found at several sites, including nickizumi.com, where I do my reviews and rants and a lot of before and afters during the summer where Raina and I talk about movies.
Completely worth checking out, by the way. It's a fun trip down a rabbit hole.
I write and I talk on the podcast Nerd and Tie every 2 weeks, along with my comedy partner, Professor Fur, and our old friend Trey Dorn.
Who's a great writer himself.
And, of course, if you go to the Wisconsin convention scene at all, check me out at Otaku Tonight Productions, where I'm constantly telling jokes.
And they're funny. I'm usually there, too.
It's great.
It is. It's a fun time. Your Twitter handle is at Nick Izumi.
Yep, you can find me at Nick Izumi.
That, obviously, will be in the links below. And, wow, Nick, this was fun.
Thanks for having me on the show again.
It's a blast. I couldn't wait to do this.
I hope to be back on again at some point. I really enjoyed it.
We've already discussed topics that we're going to talk about, and you know I want to do that panel because that's one of my favorite fandoms.
Oh, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for I Want to Like This, I am Thomas Sinclair. You can find I Want to Like This on Twitter at I Want to Like This. You can find me on Twitter at the T Sinclair. And you can find I Want to Like This and myself both on Facebook, the Thomas Sinclair and I Want to Like This. If you would like to contribute, have a great day. Make a comment. I just stumbled there really badly. This is just the great closing. Crap.
Well, just remember, everybody,
well
keep on spocking in the free world.
That's how I'm closing. That's it.
Yeah.
Cut it right there.
Okay. We never once mentioned the fact that how fitting it was for Transformers.
We're
in a
recording
car.
in a goddamn car.
We're in a
Damn
car.
I'll do it in the intro.
Yeah.
And I was going to say about the explosion.
I can do it in the intro and the closing.
Yeah.
That was fun. Even
That
in
was
the car.
really fun.
I
Even
have
in
to
a
step
car.
out because I'm sweating my fucking
Yeah.
Yeah,
balls
I
off.
cracked the windows earlier.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's cool, dude. No.
Next time I'll arrange for a better venue. Oh, no, next time.
Well, that was I Want to Like This, Transformers with Nick Izumi. Nick is a great guy. I hope you liked him. I hope you follow him on the social medias. He is at Nick Izumi. You can follow Otaku Tonight at Otaku Tonight. Of course, you can always follow myself, the T Sinclair, on both Twitter and the Thomas Sinclair on Facebook. And of course, feel free to like I Want to Like This on Facebook. I Want to Like This at I Want to Like This on Twitter. I'll always get that weirded out because I always forget to say at. And of course, you can subscribe here on YouTube or wherever you're hearing this. I hope you have a great day.